So I've been trying to figure out how I wanted to do this. I knew I wanted to do this in a video because it would make a lot more sense, and I could probably elaborate a little bit better in text or in speech than I could in text. Um, I've been trying to rotate insulin injection sites because as you probably know if you've been reading my blog, I use my insulin pen for all my diabetes needs, and in a good day, assuming no corrections, that's still 5 injections a day. And for the longest time, I'd only been doing it in my stomach. And while it's still rotating there, there isn't as much real estate as I would have liked for that. And after a while, I just got frustrated with that and decided to try to mix it up a little bit. And occasionally, I'd be going to my arms, but I've recently found out that it's just as effective, if not more effective, to also inject in my legs. That's great at home whenever if you're like wearing shorts or whatever, and it's really not that big a deal. But if you're out in public, which is obviously one of the biggest things you have to deal with diabetes, and trying to deal with how to manage your disease and how to manage everybody else's expectations and their perceptions of what's going on, because people suddenly freak out about needles. Oh my god, I can never do that to myself. Needles freak me out, whatever. That's a bunch of nonsense if you do what you need to do to stay alive. So injecting into my legs, it wasn't that big of a deal at home, but in the office and at work and at lunch and things like that, you have to try to, I don't want to necessarily hide my diabetes, but I don't want to kind of just, set up shop everywhere and all of a sudden make it look like a big operating table just to give myself an injection before lunch. So I do what I can to keep things discreet while not necessarily inhibiting the way that I manage my disease. So usually that just means kind of, it's really kind of difficult to say, but I can still inject into my thighs without necessarily making a big deal out of it. And it's been really effective, and at times I feel like the insulin is actually reacting a little bit faster, which is kind of cool because I can still inject 10 minutes before I eat, and or if I always remember to do that, and and the insulin will kick in and everything's fine. I'll just go along with the rest of my day. This is all fun and dandy until you get the occasional bleeder, which I guess for insulin injections is probably a little more frequent than all of my readers or followers or whatever that are on a pump. I mean, they might have issues whenever they put a new site in or take it out or whatever, but for the most part, it's usually an isolated incident. With me, with at least 5 injections a day, there's high potential for mayhem. Which brings me to the meaning of this video, the purpose of this video. These are my jeans from Friday, and I had an incident at lunch that I didn't realize until much later, and then I had to correct for lunch, and then it just turned into what I had described on Twitter as an isolated incident of chickenpox. So here we have my jeans. Let's see, this was the first spot. Didn't notice that until about an hour later. And then this was the first correction, and then when I realized it was bleeding through, I tried to move my pants around, and then this one, and then the rest of this came through, and it was just pretty gross and inconvenient for the rest of the day. So yeah, it looks like something from CSI. Like I was hoping that Horatio would come out of the corner and put on his sunglasses with some stupid pun and be like, ooh, looks like the insulin's inside. I don't know, I can't even think of some stupid pun, but either way, Horatio would come in, give me a sweet pun, and then the Who would start blaring in the background. But much to my dismay, there was no CSI opening for that. But it is pretty gross, and it is really unfortunate. And it's like I said, it's this weird thing of trying to balance not making it a big deal, not being ashamed of my diabetes, which I'm not, but it's not something that I don't want to have to subject, the looks or the questions if I don't have to. It's not for everybody else's benefit, it's just so that I don't have to deal with their stupidity for the most part, or their ignorance, which is not I guess stupidity is probably the wrong word, but their ignorance of what diabetes is and what diabetes isn't. It's rather than try to make it a teachable moment. I'm not always in the mood to be educating everybody about diabetes. I know that might not be the best thing to say, but sometimes I just want to have my sandwich and get along with the rest of my day. So yeah, it's just one of those weird things where you try to balance doing everything to keep yourself healthy, to keep everything as it needs to be, and then where possible, kind of keep it as discreet as possible. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure why I always feel the need to do something like that, but I guess it probably just is a little bit of frustration. You get kind of tired of dealing with everything, but I don't know. So yeah, it's pretty gross. It's pretty unfortunate. Hopefully the stuff will wash out, and if it doesn't, then whatever. I mean, the back hole in these jeans is pretty torn up anyway, so There, you can see that now. This is where my wallet goes. You can kind of guess, right? Yeah, that's pretty bad. So yeah, it's just another one of those things that they don't tell you about whenever you're sitting there at that hospital bed. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, trying not to inconvenience everybody is going to really be an inconvenience to you. Thanks.